Imagine a seed about to sprout into a magnificent fruit-bearing tree. That tree is your life, and the seed, your heart. This lively depiction from James Allen's Out from the Heart reveals an unforgettable lesson. Our very existence mirrors what lies within us. It bridges 1904 to the present, essentially timeless. But why should you care? Well, Confucius suggests that self-improvement is not only crucial for growth, but also to aid this world we inhabit. In pursuit of excellence, serenity, and purity lie the ingredients of success and beauty in everyday living. Have you ever noticed how our surroundings reflect internal realities? Ever wondered why adversaries seem to reside within our hearts and minds, shooting arrows of self-doubt? The most transformative journey one can embark on is within oneself, because it forms every aspect of life. Isn't it shocking that all those thoughts rippling through our minds culminate in actions leading us right towards our destinies? Hang in with us as we delve deeper into these profound theories extracted from centuries-old wisdom and prepare for a mind-altering exploration of Out from the Heart by James Allen Summey by Summary Guru Channel. So, do subscribe if you haven't. Your one subscribe will make our day. Let's begin.
James Allen's Out from the Heart was read by Lou Lambert. Released in 1904, Master Key Society produced it for research. Its main message is that a pure heart leads to a rich and peaceful life. It also states that all enemies are within one's heart and mind. Confucius stated that self-improvement is key to progress and moral development. This simple yet profound statement suggests that the best way to gain knowledge and aid the world is through self-improvement. The pursuit of flawlessness, purity, and a calm mind is the highest task a person can undertake. Its results reflect in a well-ordered, prosperous, and beautiful life. James Allen says that life reflects what's in the heart. Nothing stays hidden. Everything eventually comes out. He compares this process to a seed growing into a tree, blooming and bearing fruit. The state of a man's heart dictates his life conditions. Thoughts become actions, which shape character and destiny. Life constantly unfolds and reveals itself. Words, actions, and accomplishments revealed. Thoughts formed in heart. All feelings, both positive and negative, exist solely in the heart. They are purely mental states. Each person is responsible for their heart and mind. They can either be diligent or negligent. They can take care of their heart and mind better. They can watch their thoughts more carefully and aim for purity. This is the path to enlightenment and joy. On the flip side, they can be careless, neglecting the crucial task of properly arranging their life. This is about self-deception and pain. A person should understand that life comes from the mind. This way, they will find happiness. They will realize they can control their mind to match their ideals. Will they choose to follow thoughts and actions that are truly good for them? Life will become beautiful and sacred. Eventually, they will overcome all evil, chaos, and suffering. It's impossible for a man who carefully protects his heart and mind to not find freedom, wisdom, and peace. The mind has the power to create illusions and see reality. It shapes destiny. Thoughts are important, as are good and bad actions. These form character. The mind creates its own image. A person, as a mental being, has all the powers of the mind and unlimited choices. He learns from experience and can speed up or slow down his learning. He isn't forced to do anything, but often he limits himself. Once he realizes this, he can free himself when he wants. He can be good or bad, noble or ignoble, wise or foolish, depending on his choice. He can form habits and break them through effort. He can believe in illusions until he loses truth, or he can destroy those illusions until he finds truth again. His possibilities are endless, and he is completely free. Our minds create our conditions and choose where we live. It can change any condition and leave any state. It continually does this as it learns from different states and experiences. Our thoughts shape our lives and characters, and we can change these by using our willpower and making efforts. Habits, weaknesses, and sins are self-made and can only be destroyed by oneself. They exist only in one's mind. Even though they're linked to outside things, they don't really exist. The inner shapes the outer, not the other way around. Temptation doesn't come from external objects, but from the mind's desire for them. Pain and sadness don't come from external events, but from how our minds react to them. A disciplined, wise, and pure mind avoids desires that bring suffering, leading to enlightenment and peace. Blaming others and external conditions only increases the world's pain and unrest. The outer world is just a reflection of the inner world. When the heart is pure, everything else becomes pure. Growth and life come from within, while decay and death come from without. This is a universal rule. All progress starts from within. Any changes must happen within. He has the ability to reshape his mind through his thoughts. Thus, he can change his life. Here's how it happens. Each mental condition is a learned habit formed by repeating thoughts like sadness, joy, anger, peace, greed, and generosity. All these mental states become habits by choice until they happen automatically. A thought that is often repeated becomes a permanent habit. From these habits, our lives unfold. The mind learns from repeated experiences. A thought which may be hard to grasp at first becomes natural over time through repetition. It's like a boy learning a trade who initially struggles with tools, but after practice, uses them effortlessly and skillfully. A mental state which seems impossible to achieve at first can be acquired and integrated into one's character through persistence and practice. This ability of the mind to form and restructure its habits is crucial. It forms the foundation of self-liberation and mastery, as it allows us to replace harmful habits with beneficial ones. Now, let's clarify something that requires deep thinking. Many believe that doing wrong is easier than doing right. This belief is widely accepted, and even Buddha mentioned it. Bad deeds are easy to do, while good deeds are difficult. This holds true for most of humanity, but it is not a permanent state. It is not an absolute truth. Doing wrong is easier due to lack of understanding about life and its purpose. For instance, when a child learns to write, holding the pen incorrectly and forming letters wrongly comes naturally due to ignorance. But with continuous effort and practice, the child learns to write correctly and finds it difficult to do otherwise. It is the same in the vital things of mind and life to think, and do rightly requires much practice and renewed effort. But the time at last comes when it becomes habitual and easy to think and do rightly and difficult, as it is then seen to be altogether unnecessary to do that, which is wrong, just as an artisan becomes by practice accomplished in his craft, so a man can become by practice accomplished. In goodness, it is entirely a matter of forming new habits of thought, and he to whom right thoughts have become easy and natural, and wrong thoughts and acts difficult to do, has attained to the highest virtue, to pure spiritual knowledge. It is easy and natural for men to sin, because they have formed by incessant repetition harmful and unenlightened habits of thought. It is very difficult for the thief to refrain from stealing when opportunity occurs, because he has lived so long in covetous and avaricious thoughts. But such difficulty does not exist for the honest man who has lived so long in upright and honest thoughts, and has thereby become enlightened as to the wrong folly and fruitlessness of theft, that even the remotest idea of stealing does not enter his mind. The sin of theft is a very extreme one, and I have introduced it in order to the more clearly illustrate the force and formation of habit. But all sins and virtues are formed in the same way. Anger and impatience are natural and easy to thousands of people because they are constantly repeating the anger and impatient thought and act. And with each repetition, the habit is more firmly established and more deeply rooted. Calmness and patience can become habitual in the same way by first grasping through effort a calm and patient thought and then continuously thinking it and living in it until use becomes second nature and anger and impatience pass away forever. It is thus that every wrong thought may be expelled from the mind, thus that every untrue act may be destroyed, thus that every sin may be overcome doing and knowing. Let a man realize that his life in its totality proceeds from his mind, and that mind is a combination of habits which he can, by patient effort, modify to any extent, and over which he can thus gain complete ascendancy and control. And he has at once obtained possession of the key which shall open the door to his complete emancipation. But emancipation from the ills of life, which are the ills of one's mind, is a matter of steady growth from within, and not a sudden acquisition from without. Hourly and daily must the mind be trained to think stainless thoughts and to adopt right and dispassionate attitudes under those circumstances in which it is prone to fall into wrong and passion, like the patient sculptor upon his marble. The aspirant to the right life must gradually work upon the crude material of his mind until he has wrought out of it the ideal of his holiest dreams. In working towards such supreme accomplishment, it is necessary to commence at the lowest and easiest steps and proceed by natural and progressive stages to the higher and more difficult. This law of growth, progress, evolution, unfoldment by gradual and ever-ascending stages is absolute in every department of life and in every human accomplishment, and where it is ignored, total failure will thinking and acting correctly requires a lot of practice and effort. Empower your mind, shape your destiny. Thoughts impact actions, shaping your character. You're a being of limitless choices, learning and evolving at your pace. Self-limitations exist, but awareness breaks the shackles. Your choices define you, good or bad, noble or foolish. Habits can be formed or broken with sufficient effort. Your mind crafts illusions. It can also dismantle them to seek truth. Endless possibilities lie before you. You're beautifully free. Our minds construct our life circumstances. It adapts, learns from experiences, constantly restructuring. Willpower and effort reshape thoughts, eventually affecting lives. Faults and weaknesses are self-built edifices. Their demolition starts within. Pain and temptation originate internally. Discipline paves way for enlightenment. The external world mirrors our inner state. Purity within radiates outwardly. Life blooms from within while decay invades externally, a universal law. Progress germinates from inside out. Transformations begin within oneself. You possess the power to revamp your mind through thoughts. Pave way for a transformative life journey. On the other hand, an honest person who has always had upright thoughts won't even consider stealing. The concept of theft doesn't cross his mind. To better illustrate this, let's look at anger and impatience. These feelings are common because people frequently allow themselves to think and act angrily or impatiently. Over time, these behaviors become ingrained habits. However, calmness and patience can also be formed into habits. This is achieved by consistently thinking calmly and patiently until they become second nature. Similarly, any negative thoughts or actions can be removed from one's mind. Life, in its entirety, stems from our minds. a collection of habits that we can change with patient effort. With this understanding, we can gain full control over our lives. This leads to freedom from the problems caused by negative thought patterns. This growth must come from within and happens gradually. Like a sculptor working on marble, we must slowly shape our minds towards our ideal. To achieve this, we should start with simple steps and progress to more challenging ones. This is a fundamental rule in any area of life, whether learning, doing business, or developing virtues. Unfortunately, many people ignore this rule when trying to learn truth and live a virtuous life. As a result, these principles remain unknown. It's a common mistake to think that reading about higher life principles is enough. In reality, living a higher life means applying these principles in our thoughts, words, and actions. Gaining knowledge in a trade or business is universally accepted and followed. However, this isn't the case when learning virtue, truth, and right conduct for life. Virtue, truth, and a perfect life often remain unfamiliar, unexplored, and unknown. People often mistakenly believe that the higher life involves reading and accepting theological or metaphysical ideas. The deeper life involves improved thinking, speaking, and acting. Understanding spiritual principles inherent in humans and the universe requires persistent discipline and practice of virtue. We must fully comprehend the simple before we can understand the complex. Practice always precedes genuine understanding. A teacher doesn't start by teaching abstract mathematical concepts to his students. He begins with a basic problem. After explaining it, he allows them to solve it. As they master easier tasks, he introduces more difficult ones. Only after years of diligent study does he reveal the underlying mathematical principles. In learning a trade like mechanics, a beginner isn't taught the principles right away. Instead, he's given a simple tool and taught its correct usage. As he succeeds, he's assigned increasingly challenging tasks. After several years of successful practice, he is ready to understand the principles of mechanics. In well-managed households, children are first taught obedience and proper behavior. They're not initially told why these things are important. They're instructed to do them. Only after they've practiced these behaviors do they learn the reasons behind them. No parent would try teaching their child ethical principles before expecting them to practice family duty and social virtue. Thus, practice always comes before knowledge, both in everyday life and in spiritual matters. This law is strict in its demands. Virtue can only be learned by practicing it, and the truth can only be understood by perfecting oneself in virtue. To fully master virtue is to fully understand the truth. Truth can only be reached by continually practicing virtuous acts, starting with the easy ones and moving on to harder ones. Just as a child steadily learns lessons at school, so does a student of truth apply themselves to doing what's right, undeterred by failure and strengthened by challenges. As they gain virtue, their mind opens up to the truth, and they find peace in that knowledge. The path to understanding the all-encompassing principles of truth requires mastering the simpler steps first. So how should one begin? How can someone eager to enlighten their mind and purify their heart, the source and storehouse of life, learn these lessons of virtue? How can they build up their knowledge and eliminate ignorance and life's problems? What are the first lessons and steps? How can they be learned, practiced, and mastered? The first lessons involve overcoming the wrong mental conditions that are easiest to remove and often block spiritual progress. They also include practicing simple virtues in family and social life. The first 10 steps can be grouped into 3 lessons: overcoming and eliminating vices, disciplining the body and speech, and practicing virtues. Lesson 1. Discipline of the body, overcoming laziness and self-indulgence. Lesson 2. Discipline of speech involves stopping slander, gossip, harsh speech, disrespectful speech, and critical speech. Lesson 3. Discipline of actions teaches unselfish duty, unwavering integrity, and unlimited forgiveness. Conversely, an individual of integrity, whose thoughts have invariably been virtuous, wouldn't contemplate thievery. It's not within their scope of thought. To exemplify this, consider anger and impatience. People routinely permit themselves to act out these sentiments, thereby ingraining them as habits. Equally, habits of serenity and patience can be formed by constantly cultivating these traits until they become characteristic. Adverse thoughts or actions can similarly be eliminated. Life in its entirety is a reflection of our mental habituations, which we are able to modify with perseverance. Realizing this empowers us to take full charge of our existence and escape the trap caused by destructive thinking patterns. Such transformation has to come from within and take place progressively, like a sculptor meticulously chiseling away at marble. We start from the basics and level up gradually, a fundamental rule in life applicable whether in learning new skills, conducting business, or developing virtues. Regrettably, many disregard this principle when it comes to harnessing truths and encompassing virtuous living, leading these principles to remain elusive. Often people misconceive that simply reading about higher life principles suffices. In truth, though, living an exemplary life involves embodying those principles through every deed, spoken word, or thought. While people universally correlate industry knowledge with success, they do not make the same association when it comes to understanding virtue or truths for life conduct. Virtue, truth, and fulfilling lives thus remain largely undiscovered and unmastered, as many believe higher living equates acceptance of theological or metaphysical philosophies. An abundant life involves transforming behavioral patterns integral to our speech and actions. Fully grasping spiritual tenets intrinsic in ourselves and the cosmos requires. These vices and virtues are classified based on the body and tongue because they are expressed through them. But it's important to understand that these issues primarily come from the mind and represent incorrect heart conditions manifested through the body and tongue. Chaotic situations show a lack of understanding about life's true meaning. Removing them marks the start of a wise, stable life. But how can they be defeated? First, by controlling their visible signs and stopping bad actions immediately. This pushes the mind to stay alert and think until it finally sees and understands the negative mental states causing such actions, and then leaves them behind. The initial step in training the mind is overcoming laziness. This first step is the simplest, but other steps can't happen until this one is done well. Holding on to laziness blocks the way to truth. Laziness means giving the body too much rest and delay, and ignoring tasks that need immediate attention. To beat laziness, wake up early, let the body get enough sleep for full recovery, and handle every task energetically right away, no matter how small. Never eat or drink in bed, and don't stay in bed after waking up. It's a bad habit that hurts promptness, determination, and a clear mind. Also, don't try to think while in bed. Clear, strong thinking isn't possible at that time. During these times, a person should go to bed to sleep, not to think. They should wake up to think and work, not to sleep. The next step is to stop overeating. An overeater is someone who eats only for pleasure, without thinking about the real purpose of eating. They eat more than needed and crave sweets and rich foods. To fight this unruly desire, eat less food and fewer meals each day, and keep your diet simple and straightforward. Set regular meal times and avoid eating outside of those hours. Cut out supper as it's not needed and leads to deep sleep and a foggy mind. Following a discipline and method can help control our unregulated desires. As we stop indulging ourselves, we instinctively choose healthier foods. A change in diet must lead to a change of heart, otherwise it's useless. Eating for pleasure is gluttony. We need to remove our cravings and lust for taste. When we control our body, do tasks quickly, wake up early joyfully, and practice self-restraint, we're on the right path. Being content with whatever food we get, no matter how simple, means we're making progress. This is how we lay the foundation for a balanced, virtuous life. The next lesson is about virtuous speech, which has 5 steps. The first step is stopping slander. Slander involves spreading harmful rumors about others and highlighting their faults. It's thoughtless, cruel, insincere, and dishonest. To live rightly, we should stop slandering and eliminate the insincere thoughts that cause it. We should avoid speaking ill of anyone and refrain from criticizing absent friends. We shouldn't say anything behind someone's back that we wouldn't say to their face. By respecting others' reputation, we can eliminate the mindset that leads to slander. The next step is avoiding gossip and pointless talk. Idle talk involves discussing others' private matters aimlessly. This comes from an uncontrolled mind. Virtuous people control their speech, making it strong and pure. They speak purposefully or stay silent. The next vice to overcome is hurtful speech. A person who accuses others has lost their way. Insulting others shows foolishness. If you feel like condemning others, hold your tongue and look at yourself. A virtuous person avoids quarrels and uses only beneficial, necessary, pure, and true words. The video discusses the impact of vices and virtues that stem from the mind and manifest through actions. It emphasizes the importance of addressing negative mental states, starting with overcoming laziness. The strategy entails controlling visible signs, such as procrastination and overeating, to train the mind towards wise, stable living. The next stage involves avoiding disrespectful speech, telling crude jokes, or speaking badly about others, especially elders and superiors. This behavior will be stopped by a love for virtue and truth. Respect for others should not be abandoned for the sake of laughter or ridicule. When modesty and dignity are removed from speech and actions, truth is lost. Disrespect is shameful, even in young people. But when it is seen in older people, particularly preachers, it can lead to confusion and loss of direction. A virtuous person will speak respectfully and kindly. They won't act thoughtlessly, nor will they sacrifice their dignity for frivolity. Their happiness will be pure, and their voice will become calm and pleasant. The final part of this lesson is avoiding nitpicking and arguing over small mistakes or differences in opinion. Life is too short for constant disagreement. The person who always wants to argue has yet to learn self-surrender. The person who controls their words to make them kinder and purer will find peace and truth. When your speech is well controlled and thoughtful, when you don't let selfish thoughts guide your words, then you have mastered virtuous speech. Some might ask why we need to control our bodies and words with such effort. But without hard work, we cannot achieve higher spiritual understanding. Can a person build a table before learning to use tools? Can he understand his mind without first controlling his body? Just as we can't grasp complex language before knowing the alphabet, we can't comprehend our minds before understanding basic conduct. Learning takes time and effort, like an apprentice mastering a trade daily through their master's guidance. Who among us strives for perfection in music, art, or work? Who is ready to devote his life for it? Shouldn't we put the same effort into seeking truth? Those who want truth without labor won't escape self-created confusion and suffering. They won't find peace or order in life because they prefer comfort over truth. However, those who truly seek truth won't see any task too large. They'll wholeheartedly embrace the challenge. It's important to note that discipline extends beyond physical actions. For instance, laziness of the body indicates a lazy mind. A poorly controlled tongue suggests an unruly mind. To improve outward conditions, we must fix our inner state. Overcoming these issues is just part of the process. As you stop indulging yourself and start practicing discipline, you also develop virtues like patience and self-denial. These qualities are critical for success in higher tasks. As he improves his communication, he becomes more honest and kind. He gains mental stability and a clear aim, crucial for understanding complex mind activities. This also helps him reach higher levels of behavior and wisdom. His knowledge grows, and his understanding intensifies with every achievement, giving him a unique joy. We now move to the third lesson in self-improvement, practicing 3 key virtues in daily life. The first virtue is performing duties without selfishness. The second is unwavering honesty, and the third is unlimited forgiveness. After mastering the initial steps, one is ready to face more challenging tasks and understand deeper motives. Without proper duty performance, higher virtues remain unknown and truth undiscoverable. Duty can seem like a burden, but this is due to a selfish mindset. Duty should be considered sacred, done without personal gain. When performed this way, duty becomes a joy. Duty is only burdensome to those seeking personal benefits. If someone finds their duty tiresome, it's because they want to avoid it. Neglecting duty, no matter how big or small, means neglecting virtue. The man who resents duty resents virtue. When duty becomes an act of love, selfishness decreases, bringing us closer to truth. A virtuous man focuses on his duties without interfering with others. The next step is practicing unwavering honesty, which must be deeply ingrained and reflected in all aspects of life. All forms of dishonesty must be eliminated, keeping the heart free from insincerity. Any diversion from honesty deviates from virtue. There should be no exaggeration, only simple truth. Engaging in deception, even seemingly minor, for vanity or personal gain, is a delusion that needs to be removed. A virtuous man should be honest in thought, word, and deed. He should tell the truth without adding or removing anything. This helps him to treat others fairly, free from personal bias. When he fully understands and practices honesty, he becomes pure and wise. This is the second step. The third step is unlimited forgiveness. Forgiveness means overcoming feelings of harm caused by vanity and pride. It means showing kindness to everyone. Revenge is not worth noticing or keeping. Someone who holds on to these feelings can't rise above foolishness and pain. Only by forgetting them can he see the real path in life. By being forgiving, he can see the beauty and strength of a well-ordered life. A strong and virtuous man doesn't feel personally hurt. He has no enemies. If people make themselves his enemies, he treats them kindly. He understands their ignorance. When he reaches this state, he's taken the third step in disciplining himself. Then he's learned the third big lesson in virtue and knowledge. I've explained the first 3 lessons in doing right and knowing right. Those who have finished these lessons will have seen the high truths and the narrow path leading to them. They can choose whether they want to continue. Everyone can follow the straight path I set out. They'll all benefit, as will the world. Even those who don't want to find truth will grow stronger intellectually and morally. They'll make better judgments and have deeper peace of mind. They won't lose materially by changing their hearts. In fact, they'll gain more. Success only comes to those who abandon small vices, control their bodies and minds, and commit to honesty and virtue. I won't go into detail about the bigger steps and lessons in living right, but I can give some advice on mental conditions that affect life overall. He needs to learn to act lawfully. A student who makes mistakes is not happy, and happiness can't be achieved if we don't overcome our faults. Life consists of learning lessons. Those who learn earnestly become pure, smart, and completely happy. Those who don't try stay foolish and unhappy. Every type of unhappiness comes from a negative mindset. Happiness is having a balanced mind. Unhappiness is mental imbalance. If a person lives with a negative mindset, they will lead a bad life and constantly suffer. Man's only salvation lies in overcoming his own ignorance, mistakes, and self-deception. Where there are negative mindsets, there is unrest. Where there are positive mindsets, there is peace. Here are some harmful mental states and their effects. Hatred leads to harm, violence, disaster, and suffering. Lust leads to confusion, regret, shame, and misery. Greed leads to fear, unrest, unhappiness, and loss. Pride leads to disappointments. Vanity leads to distress. Condemnation leads to hatred from others. Ill will leads to failure and troubles. And anger leads to loss of power and influence. These negative mental states are just absences. They represent darkness and lack, not power. Evil isn't power, it's misuse of good. A hater has failed to learn love's lessons correctly and suffers as a result. When he succeeds, he will no longer hate, but understand its futility. This is true for every negative state. Here are some beneficial mental states and their effects. Love leads to gentleness, joy, and blessedness. Purity leads to clarity, confidence. Selflessness leads to courage, satisfaction, happiness, and abundance. Humility leads to calmness, knowledge of truth. Meekness leads to balance, contentment in all situations. Compassion leads to love and respect for others. Goodwill leads to happiness and success. Self-control leads to peace of mind, health, and honor. Patience leads to mental strength, influence, and self-conquest leads to wisdom and deep peace. The above right conditions of mind are states of positive power, of light of joyful possession, and of knowledge. The good man knows he has learned to do his lessons correctly, and thereby understands the exact proportions which make up the sum of life. He is enlightened and knows good and evil. He is supremely happy doing only that which is divinely right. The man who is involved in the wrong conditions of mind does not know he is ignorant of good and evil of himself, of the inward causes which makes his life. He is unhappy and believes other people are entirely the cause of his unhappiness. He works blindly and lives in darkness, seeing no central purpose in existence and no orderly and lawful sequence in the course of things. He who aspires to the attainment of the higher life in its completion, who would perceive with unveiled vision the true order of things and the meaning of life. Let him abandon all the wrong conditions of heart and persevere unceasingly in the practice of the good. If he suffers or doubts or is unhappy, let him search within until he finds the cause, and having found it, let him cast it away. Let him so guard and purify his heart that every day less of evil and more of good shall issue therefrom. So will he daily become stronger, nobler, wiser. So will his blessedness increase, and the light of truth growing ever brighter and brighter within him will dispel all gloom and illuminate his pathway. Exhortation, disciples of truth, lovers of virtue, seekers of wisdom, ye also, who are sorrow-stricken, knowing the emptiness of the self-life, and who aspire to the life that is supremely beautiful and serenely. Glad take now yourselves in hand. Enter the door of discipline, and know the better life, put away self-delusion. Behold yourself as you are, and see the path of virtue as it is. there is no lazy way to truth. Positive mental conditions give us strength, happiness, and knowledge. A good person knows how to live life well, understands right from wrong, and is happy doing the right thing. A person with negative thinking doesn't know they're ignorant of right and wrong. They blame others for their unhappiness and live without purpose or direction. To find true meaning in life, they must abandon these negative thoughts and focus on doing good. If they're unhappy or doubtful, they should look within to find the cause and eliminate it. They should strive to do more good each day, becoming stronger and wiser and increasing their happiness. The light of truth will grow brighter within them, dispelling all darkness. If you seek truth, wisdom, and virtue, discipline yourself and learn to live a better life. Understand yourself and the path of virtue. There's no easy way to truth. If you want to reach the top of the mountain, you must climb hard and rest only to regain strength. Discipline itself is beautiful and rewarding. Start each day with discipline and a strong mind that can resist error and weakness. Temptation can only be overcome with preparation. Train your mind to understand right and wrong. With discipline, understanding grows. Truth can only be reached through discipline. Patience grows with effort and makes discipline enjoyable. Those who avoid discipline live disordered lives. To those who love truth, discipline is not a burden. To reach the peak of a mountain, one must climb with vigor and rest only to regain energy. Even if the ascent isn't as magnificent as the clear peak, it's still splendid. Self-control is inherently lovely, and its result is a sweet rise. Start each day with discipline over your body and a mind fortified against mistakes and frailty. To overcome temptation, you need more than unprepared struggle. The mind should be prepared and armed in quiet time. To reach the peak of a mountain, one must climb with vigor and rest only to regain energy. Even if the ascent isn't as magnificent as the clear peak, it's still splendid. Self-control is inherently lovely, and its result is a sweet rise. Start each day with discipline over your body and a mind fortified against mistakes and frailty. To overcome temptation, you need more than unprepared struggle. The mind should be prepared and armed in quiet time. The mind should be trained to perceive, understand, and know sin. Sin and temptation vanish when right understanding is nurtured, which is achieved through continuous discipline. Truth can only be acquired through discipline. Patience can be cultivated by effort and practice, and patience in turn fosters discipline. Discipline may seem bothersome to the impatient and self-absorbed, leading them to avoid it and live a chaotic life. However, discipline does not bother those who love truth. Those who love truth find limitless patience, enabling them to wait, work, and triumph. The joy they feel is akin to a gardener watching his flowers bloom daily. They watch the divine flowers of purity, wisdom, compassion, and love sprout in their hearts. A reckless liver cannot evade sorrow and pain. An undisciplined mind crumbles, weak and helpless, under the brutal attack of passion. Truth lovers, prepare your minds. Be vigilant, thoughtful, and resolute. Your salvation is close at hand. All that's needed is your readiness and effort. Don't lose heart if you fail 10 times. If you fail 100 times, get up and aim again. Even if you fail 1,000 times, don't lose hope. Once you're on the right path, success is certain unless you completely abandon the journey. At first, you'll experience struggle, then victory, labor, then rest, weakness, then strength. Initially, there will be confusion and clamor, but in the end, a peaceful life awaits. The knowledge of these foundational lessons will reveal the profound truths and the path to righteousness, allowing individuals to choose their onward journey. Embracing virtuous conduct benefits not only oneself, but also the world at large. Cultivating honesty, virtue, and self-discipline leads to intellectual and moral strength, sound judgment, and inner peace. These transformations lead to greater success as individuals shed their small vices and commit to ethical living. While I won't delve into all the advanced teachings, it's crucial to understand that leading a righteous life involves learning from mistakes and striving for purity, intelligence, and complete happiness. Overcoming negative mindsets is paramount in attaining a balanced and contented life. Unhappiness stems from mental imbalance caused by negative mindsets. The antidote lies in overcoming ignorance, errors, and self-deception. Negative mental states breed unrest, while positive mindsets bring peace. Recognizing harmful mental conditions such as hatred, lust, greed, pride, vanity, condemnation, ill will, and anger reveals their destructive effects on our inner peace. It's essential to comprehend that evil lacks true power. It is merely an absence, signifying darkness and deficiency rather than true strength. Positive mental states empower individuals with strength, happiness, and insight. A good person embodies a deep understanding of moral conduct, finds joy in doing what is right, and lives a purpose-driven life. Conversely, those with negative thoughts often live without direction or purpose, blaming others for their unhappiness. To discover the true meaning of life, they must discard these detrimental thoughts and focus on virtuous actions. Addressing inner discontentment involves introspection to identify its root cause and eliminate it. Striving daily to perform acts of goodness fosters personal growth in strength, wisdom, and happiness. This journey towards enlightenment dispels darkness as the light of truth shines brighter within. Achieving truth, wisdom, and virtue demands self-discipline and a commitment to living a morally upright life. There are no shortcuts to attaining truth, but through discipline. One learns to understand right from wrong. Overcoming temptation requires mental preparedness, cultivated through discipline. Patience cultivated through effort renders discipline gratifying for those who cherish truth. Those who shun discipline lead disorderly lives. To truth seekers, discipline becomes an enriching pursuit rather than a burden. Ascending to the peak of a mountain necessitates arduous effort with minimal respite for renewal. Embracing self-control holds inherent beauty and yields sweet rewards. Each day begins with disciplined mastery over oneself while fortifying the mind against errors and weakness. Conquering temptation demands more than unprepared struggle. It requires a prepped mind fortified during quiet introspective moments.